Hi.
Uh-oh. I am about to literally be so excited right now. Everybody, welcome back to Power 97.5 LA. She didn't even know. We get started immediately whenever they call in. I'm so happy and fulfilled in this moment. We have none other than the beautiful Bukunmi is in the building. Doo, doo, doo.
Hi, darling. How are you this morning? I'm excited to
I
chat
am
with you.
so excited because of your grace, because of your intentions, your intentionality, your art, your creativity, all of the things. Before we get started, we have a huge audience of people that listen to our show. And if you're living under a rock, Bukunmi Grace, she is a multidisciplinary artist, a storyteller, a spiritual vessel whose iconic exhibition, Iconic Now, is not just a gallery presentation, but it was a visual and is a visual altar. Her photography, symbolism, and sacred intention, she invites all of us to reimagine what it means to be seen, to be divine, and to be fucking iconic. And I don't even curse. I'm so excited right now. How are you, Bukunmi Grace?
I am so great. But first of all, thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. I don't think I could have said anything better myself. So, I really appreciate that insight that you garnered just from coming to the show. I don't think I even sent you any background information.
Nothing. No. Listen, the
I
team.
didn't send anything.
You sent
That's
nothing.
wild.
She sent her love. This is the thing. We've had over 200 plus episodes, and a huge shout out to Power 97.5 LA, iGlobal Media, and the Jameer Smith Show. We do our research. We're getting into your business today, but I want to start with something most recently. You just got off the stage of Become Beloved with Adobe Create. Talk to me about that experience.
Wow, you really do your research, huh? I'm shocked. First of all, I am so grateful and blessed that Adobe gave me the opportunity to speak to their team, speak to their network, their community. I was also graciously allowed to invite people from my community as well. And when I got on stage, I actually I had prepared a speech, or I prepared the presentation months ago on becoming and being. And I just felt that was very necessary in the time that we were at in that moment, and still to this day, where there's just a lot happening in the world. There's a lot of distractions, a lot of calamities, and it's easy to disengage and disassociate and be wrapped up in all the particulars of the world, which is very important. But I was finding that it was hard for people to actually continue with an actionable item, actionable progress, because they were so consumed by media and by news. So I thought it might be good for us to take a step back and practice introspection and understand what we can do in our everyday, like day-to-day lives, surrounded by the people we love, the people we don't love. How can we actually impact change in a small way that can be then navigated into a global scene? So I got on stage without an actual formal speech in mind.
Oh my God.
I was so terrified.
Stop it. No. Mind you, this girl has photographed some of the top people in the world, and also her own photographies of herself. She's a whole badass, but I don't know why she was saying all this, but please go ahead, keep going.
Oh my goodness, you're sweet. It's just, at the end of the day, I want to be of service. I think that's what has guided the work that I've done, and it's advice I got when I was starting out, and it also comes from my spiritual background and practice. There is no point to being gifted with certain talents and skills if we are not willing to pass that on, if we're
Exactly.
not willing to see how we can make the next person better off for it.
Yeah.
And that's even why I got into photography and art production and all the things that I do in styling or things that I have done. It's because I saw a need from a singular person, and I fleshed that out to see how I can be of need to that person, but also to a large community that might not have the same resources and the same insights that I have. So that's where that was coming from. I did not know there was that many people in that room. I might have been a little bit more anxious.
It was packed. It was packed.
I did not know. It was like 500, 600 people. I heard 900 people RSVP. They've oversold it twice. So when I got on stage, I just focused on like 10 people that I see need a message, need a read, need something. Right? And I'm naturally an empath, so I can draw from that and provide that. And it's not draining for me. It actually gives me energy to be able to provide that for people. So I just focused on like 10 people. And then when I saw the videos, I was like, oh, there are a lot of people in that room. I didn't realize. So it was a great practice for me.
And I was going to say, and I had a couple of people that attended and all said the same thing, that your words were definitely needed and necessary, especially in the creative and non-creative times that we are living in. And you continue to give some really good insight. And I started that off with begin, become, beloved, Bukunmi. Like everything is so intentional with you. And I don't know if that's something that you always do or whatever, but it just makes sense. And I'm glad that the world kind of had the opportunity to just kind of hear your voice and to just see people that look like you. And you've done a phenomenal job providing spaces for the underrepresented and the people that don't feel seen. You actually create a beautiful space. So thank you.
Oh, I thank you so much. I think it's not just my mission, but it should be everyone's mission to be able to do that. And I think being an immigrant, being the daughter of immigrants, seeing how much my parents sacrificed to be in America, to work in America, to acquire our citizenship, the amount of money that has been spent, the mistakes that has had to be accounted for, and all these things, all these struggles to just allow people to live an ordinary life. I've seen that time and time and again. So I think the best thing that we can all do within that frame of mind is to try to live extraordinarily. Yeah. And I think that simply just by being kind and by being available for people, and by being open, I am like a no gatekeeping rule. And I know why some people are gatekeeping. I think it's important, some information, but I think that there are so many people that just need to figure out how to even make the next step. And I had no path for me set before me. I didn't even know photography was as lame as it sounds, I didn't know photography was an actual job.
A thing. You were like, is this for real?
No.
Yeah.
Like, what? What is this? I didn't know design was an actual job. I didn't know being an artist was an actual job. That is something I'm just coming to terms with, even in the last year of working as an artist, specifically as a photographer and art director, but even just in the fine art spectrum, I didn't even know the things I wasn't even aware of until last few years have been mind-boggling, but also inspirational to me to make sure that whenever I can, I let other people know that there is a path. There, it's uncharted, it's unbeaten. Your parents might question you for a few years.
Right.
Might essentially try to stone you.
Listen, they'll question you.
Understand.
They'll question you, and then things will look great, and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I rooted for you the whole time." You really? Okay. Oh, it was a quiet. It was a quiet route. It was a very quiet route.
Quiet route, but it was there.
It was there. However, I never ever want to negate all of the beautiful things that you have done, because let's be clear, you've started your career being featured in Elle magazine, launching a beautiful path that had spawned over 100 features and publications. You've been a part of Vogue and Forbes and Complex and Dazed, and your portfolio really kind of as a photographer and a creative director, you've done collaborations with Alicia Keys, Selena Gomez, Michael B. Jordan, Paris Hilton, the list continues to keep going and going and going. In addition to just all the institutions and commission work that you've done, Apple Music, Nike, American Express, Maserati, Delta, H&M, Adidas, da, 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 da. With all of the things, right? All of the things that you have done within this conversation, I want to talk about your creative process, the spiritual roots of your art, and really just the divine timing of this moment in your journey. And I'm so excited because for me, when we set this up in my mind, I said, this is going to be a meditation on presence, purpose, and favor. So, who is Bukunmi Grace beyond the lens and the canvas?
I continuously am amazed by your extensive research. I'm like, what? You just took all the words out of my mouth. Just kidding. No. So who am I? I am someone who, has been blessed with this tenacious drive since I was a child and discovered what art is through reading books in the library about Alexander McQueen. And I wasn't allowed to have friends outside of church or do really anything outside of the church construct. Mm-hmm. So the library was the only safe space, right? And that was beautiful because it allowed me just unlimited knowledge. Yeah. And so growing from there and then thinking, okay, I want to affect change in the ways that Alexander McQueen has, other artists that I've seen in the past, but how do I do that? And I thought, politics would be the way. And that would be acceptable by my parents as well, because my dad driving me to school would literally tell me, do not be a journalist. You will be broke. Because that's the reason why he left Nigeria, because of political strife, right? So he's taking his trauma and his fear and was trying to mitigate that for me. Which is funny because I ended up writing, and that was what actually got me into the art field that I am.
Wow.
That was the beginning, is thinking okay, maybe if I go this route, then I'll be able to actually affect change. And then being in school and realizing, this system that's set up for us is
not really set up for
against us, right? And there's a lot of political factors and actors and actions that are beyond our control. So what can we actually affect change in? So that's always been a question that I've been navigating. And I got into photography simply because I was trying to help other people who wanted to be designers, thinking I wanted to be a designer. Then I came across a photo of the greatest photographers in the world at the time, and they were just older Caucasian men, and that's it. And I was just why? Politically, that didn't make any sense to me. If you're telling me these are the greatest people in the world, but you're also showing me colonizers and people benefited from that, that doesn't really add up to the actual story of what the world's history is, right? So I thought, okay, politically, I want to make a change in this way, and even if I'm just another photographer that's doing work, at least I can say that I've been part of this realm of society in some ways. So that was in the back of my mind, but I was still very nervous about actually chasing that path. Again, no one I knew was an artist or even working in any capacity in their dreams. So I kept it very quiet for a lot of years. I moved to LA to work for a nonprofit. I did Teach for America. Then I worked as a content director, and I was doing all these things, running away from my dream and my purpose for years because I was so nervous. And I thank God my experiences were so interesting, particularly somewhat terrible at some time.
It was the path. It was the path of what the path was supposed to be. I've always learned.
Right? Yeah. And I was like, well, if this is what's happening in this path where I'm not satisfied, the least I could do is just launch myself into a path that will be as difficult, be as aggressive.
Exactly.
Be as nuanced, but I actually enjoy it, and I have control over my enjoyment and my actions within it. And so that's my Elle Magazine feature, was me being on my first vacation in 2 years for the job I was working at, and telling myself, okay, I'm here, I'm still doing work for the company, so I'm not really taking the time off.
Right.
How can I actually find ways to create art within this moment? And I found someone, then God led me to someone else, then I got led to someone else, and I created this like out of thin air, this editorial, and I had a meeting with Elle Magazine that was meant to be to promote someone else.
Wow.
And they saw my work and they're like, no, this is what we
This
want
is
to do.
it.
We want to
Yep.
feature this.
Yeah.
Right. And that also happened with High Sobriety and Hype Beast, where I was constantly trying to promote someone else's work, someone else's vision. And someone looked at me and said, "That's great, but
you are what we're looking for." Yeah.
You know?
Listen, the universe is not going to lie. The universe is always going to be in right alignment. But go ahead, yeah.
No, and it was magical to me because I was so shy. I had an anxiety disorder, and I still have it. I still have therapy for that, and based on how I grew up and just the ways I was thought to think, I'm still deprogramming myself, right?
Yeah.
So I had anxiety disorder for so long, and it led to several near-death incidents. And I think after the last one, I was like, oh, I'm here on this earth for a reason, right? Like, there's so many great people that I know that I've passed. And I feel like if we're on this earth still, we have something to learn. There's a lesson. There's something we need to teach someone. There's something we need to learn from our neighbor, our fellow friends, our fellow creators. If it wasn't the case, we wouldn't be here. Whether I don't, regardless of your spiritual or religious beliefs, like there's a reason that you're on this earth. There's a reason that we're on this earth.
Yeah.
And you're right. The universe kept coming around and reminding me, like, this is why you're here, and this is why you can't take this life for granted, and this is why it's important to keep navigating and keep striving for excellence for yourself. And for a long time, it was for the sake of my family to understand me. Then it was for the sake of these type of people to understand me. And now it's just for myself. It's just for me to understand what my mission is and how I can impact change in the little way that I can. And this all is a continuous movement. Like there is, I don't feel in any sort of way special from how I was when I was 6 or 7.
Yeah, it's elevation. You've elevated. Yeah, but also, you talked about family, right? How has your Nigerian heritage influenced your perspective as an artist and as a storyteller?
That is a great question. I think there are several layers to it. I think on the immigrant level, which everyone can atone to because all Americans are immigrants.
Yeah.
Outside of Native Americans. Let's talk about that,
Let's
right?
Start there. So Let's start there.
So everyone can understand, someone's sacrifice, and similar to the religious story of like sacrificing life and sacrificing the soul to grow a better civilization. And I think having an understanding that was imprinted in my mind day to day and seeing how hard my parents work, how much they sacrifice for us to be in the better schools, to receive better educations. My mom came to America, got a job at the stock exchange, then got a part-time job at Gap so I can go to a gifted program and learn Latin.
Shout out to parents making it happen. I'm so serious.
She was trying to get stocks at like 10 years old. So I see that now. And even my dad, I see both of their sacrifices. And I think it would be beneath me if I didn't try as hard as I could to match that level of sacrifice in my own way. So there's that layer. But then another thing that's been happening recently, because I grew up in America predominantly. I did an internship in Nigeria when I was in college, as well as in Israel and Spain. So I spent some time in these countries, some parts of my life in these countries. But it wasn't until recently when I was asked to come back to Nigeria, one for a friend's wedding and another for just spending December. That I went back and I experienced Nigeria in this whole new light. And understandably, the fears of my parents have kept me away from my country. And I think that happens to a lot of people where they leave persecution, they leave injustice, and they want nothing to do with that. But going back there, I fully understood, okay, the roads are not paved with gold. Yes, there's huge disparity. Yes, there's a lot happening that is just unnecessary. But the hustle is unmatched. The
Like
hustle of the
crazy.
average
Yeah.
person in Africa is unmatched. And I was thinking to myself, yes, I have these accolades, I have these brands I've worked with, I have these celebrities I've worked with, or celebrated figures. But if anyone on the street had the opportunities that I did, they would be 1,000% further along in life than I was.
Yeah. And I think
Because
that's
of
the
their
thing.
hustle.
Because people sometimes negate the idea of like when we're from these countries and cities and you see the hustle and bustle of the world. I remember just coming back from New York from an event and I saw everybody just moving in like unison because everyone is on this hustle of like, what's the next. And even with, exhibitions and shows and films and fashion and all of the things, it's like, what is going to be the next big thing, right? You're only as good as your last big thing. So everyone is always hustling to that next role. When you think of your name, Bukunmi Grace, right? What does the name Grace mean to you now as a woman, a creative, but also as a believer?
You're good. You're really good. Okay, I see you. So I'm going to break this down as quickly as I can and uncomplicate things for people. So Grace is actually my first name. Bukunmi is my middle name. It's short for Oluwa Bukunmi, which means God has blessed me in Yoruba. Grace to me is synonymous with that in English, which is like a blessing from God. I feel like my parents were very adamant about protecting me and protecting the energy of their experiences when they were naming me, because I basically got named Blessing, God's blessing twice. But I go by my middle name specifically because that's what my family has always called me. They haven't called me Grace necessarily. It's always been Bukunmi. So whenever someone says that, I relate that to a familial feeling. I relate that to love. I relate that to kindness. And my ears just perk up and my soul just perks up a little bit clearer. I also, a lot of people do know me by Grace. And they call me Grace, and that's totally fine as well. I didn't enjoy that name when I was younger because all my friends were like Maria and Rachel and this and that, right? And I wanted to be just like them. I changed my middle name to Ashley at one point.
Not Ashley, Lord. Oh, Lord. Ashley.
But in the last decade, I've been so grateful to have the word grace in my name, not only because of its significance on a spiritual realm, because I need grace every day.
Yeah.
I make mistakes. I don't always do the right thing. There have been moments in my life where I've just been flat out stupid. Instantly.
We all have.
I would say all the time. But there's just been some times I reflect, like, what
was I going through? Right. Yeah.
I'm just scratching my head, like, thank you, God, for your grace. Thank you for the grace of humankind. Thank you for the ever-ending, like, never-ending grace that we're granted to live another day. Because if we didn't have that, no one would be on earth. No. Everyone would be gone in some realm, because we've all done things that are just anti-human or anti-ourselves. Yeah. And we need grace for that. I think especially the things that are anti-ourselves, because then that reflects on the ways that we approach other humans and humanity in general.
Absolutely. Your art really is a visual directive on its own, right? When you think of your visual language, it's super striking. Right. A lot of people that I was able to communicate with during the Iconic Now said the same thing about just your work. And, the soul of your work is always just left for others to just think of so many things. What stories do you feel called to tell through your photography, writing, or your film?
That is a really great question. I love what you were saying earlier about the meditation on memory and desire and the human pursuit, because at the end of the day, that is literally all that it is. the photographs that I've taken in the past were in a way to capture someone's essence and presence, and just bring out their beauty and their resilience and their personal story through this still life moment. And that's spread across my editorials, my high fashion collaborations. I just want to ensure that my subjects or the subject matter is dealt with raw authenticity and elegance as much as possible, and to make it aesthetically stunning and emotionally powerful, so we can continuously dismantle limiting narratives and celebrate the full spectrum of individuality. Those aspects are very important to me. But in this new work that I'm doing, the mixed media work, it's multidimensional, it's layered, it's exploration.
Yeah.
Specifically with this exhibition, exploration of the pursuit of iconic status. But I wanted to utilize the spiritual, the cultural, and personal tokens that I've had and saved in my life and collected through my journeys across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. So a lot of it is an assemblage that weaves together various objects that are found, that are gifted from friends and loved ones that hold weight of the past lives, and question our need for control and for order and for beauty. And I think each symbolic object, each text fragment, each visual cue completely reflects humanity's layered ascent towards self-realization and recognition. And I hope people see that when they're looking at these pieces, not only the mixed media pieces, but also the photographs that I've done in the past, that they see that as reflective fragments that captures the poetry of navigating identity. And it's inspired by so much that I've seen and so much that I've heard. But I remember specifically meeting Erykah Badu in Chicago, like at the Daily Plaza. She was playing the flute, and her manager came up to me, and they asked me to show her around her stores. I was happy to do this. And then in turn, they invited me to come backstage after her show, which, by the way, I had not bought tickets to, but I definitely ran and got those
There we go. Shout out to E. Badu. Love it. Okay.
I got Erykah backstage, and we all got to ask her questions, and this sticks to me and will stick to me forever. I asked her where her inspiration comes from, and she just looked at me quizzically, and she said, everything, girl. And I was like, yeah, of course. Because I think a lot of times we think, inspiration can only come from a museum.
Yeah.
Inspiration can only come from our best friend or from an experience. There's inspiration in the clouds, in the trees, in the birds, in the coyotes. There's inspiration.
Driving in LA traffic, which is horrible. There was inspiration with that too.
There's a lot of inspiration in traveling.
A lot of inspiration.
I've been thinking about all the things.
All the things. But also, I mean, if you think of like spirituality and purpose, right? Because Erykah and so many other people that you have collaborated with, worked with, connected with, even sat in rooms with, have been able to align faith and kind of shape it in a way that has created movement throughout the art world. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. Is it I Get Eerie?
Sorry, is it I Get Theory?
Yes. So I was thinking about like some of your art that really just speaks joy and favor. For me, how do you recognize God's hands in your creative journey?
Oh, that's a great question. And I want to go back to the word you just said, because I want to make sure I got the word right too. I think it's in every essence, right?
Yeah.
So the pieces that I'm making, I pray over every single one of them.
Okay.
As I'm making them, as I'm thinking about them, that is part of my creative structure. I do that for my shoots. I do that for even emails. Like when I'm sending emails, when I'm receiving emails, I pray to the universe, like, please give me the right words to say. Please let this person have understanding of what my intention is. Please let this day go well. Because so much is out of our control.
It is.
I think regardless of what your belief is, you need to speak out into the creative force that made you who you are. Right? Yeah. And ask for their wisdom. I speak to my ancestors. I speak to my grandma specifically, who I didn't really get to know much growing up, but I know she's watching over me. I ask her for guidance. And then obviously it's great having close friends who are also our embodiment of God in human form, right? The ones that get you, even the therapist,
even
my
absolutely.
mechanic, my mechanic,
yeah.
like everyone is a vessel. And I think that if we start to look at it that way, we can understand that it's just, everything's a spiritual path for us. It's not linear. It's not just static. The earth can seem so overwhelming, and some might say it is a matrix. But at the end of the day, if it is the matrix and that's what you really believe in, then we got to figure out ways to gamify it.
That's it.
And I think the best way is just through private meditation and prayer and constant communication with oneself and with architecture of creation in essence as well.
When I went to Iconic Now, and of course I'm good friends with one of the other artists that was there, but when I was going to your pieces and I was able to see, I feel like I saw you whenever I was coming into the building, and I was like, who is this Grace Jones looking lady? Who is this woman looking all the things beautiful and sexy and Marcus darling? But the other piece around that is when I think of Iconic Now and your pieces, I thought, here is a visual sermon with Bukunmi Grace, right? Talk to us about Iconic Now. What was the seed that birthed Iconic Now for you, and where did the concept begin?
Great. Again, such great questions. Thank you. So Iconic Now is part of this broader vision called Iconic Visions. It's an Iconic Visions platform. It's a fine art exhibition series where influential figures in music, film, fashion curate their first ever art exhibition. And it's curated by David Colbert, who has had extensive research experience in our world. Mm-hmm. He's curated massive exhibitions for motion picture films. He's partnered with the NFL on public art murals. He's exhibited several times at Frieze, and he has a really great collector's base. He's also facilitated the first ever art gallery designed by Gensler, which is the world's largest architecture firm, and he also operates different residencies. So his resume...
He's a part of all of the things, right?
Is packed. Sports, entertainment, all these things. And he approached me, I think, about a year and a half ago, initially to do just an exhibition with another artist that's more well-known, but in the fine art world. But his whole vision was that instead of waiting to be celebrated when we're very old or deceased, which oftentimes is the case in the art world, mm-hmm. the higher value pieces are of the deceased artist or the artist who has got 30, 40 years under their belt, and they're 70, 80 years old, and they're revered, but they can't really enjoy it because
exactly
of age, right?
Yeah.
And so he thought, instead of waiting for someone to be elderly or deceased,
or gone,
essentially, or gone, like, let's actually paint a positive light on the youth, the current youth, who are making their mark in the worlds of fashion, art, entertainment, and whose work speaks to a generation that is defining the present moment and reshaping how we understand art, identity, and cultural influences. And I think that's so important, to highlight the youth, to highlight the young generation and different highly regarded artists at the moment, because it gives further inspiration to the generation below us and the generation above us. I don't think it takes away from the esteemed, more elderly artists.
Yeah, it still honors them.
Field.
Yeah.
Because they also find inspiration within that. And I think with this rendition of Iconic Now, especially, David did a great job of mixing people across various ages and also various positions in their art field. Mm-hmm. And we are all on a group message. We message like almost every day, but there is this unity. There's this continuous love and interest and intrigue in each other's work because of that. And I think that's the beauty of having a great curatorial exhibition, is that every artist that's involved wants to continue being in the conversation and be in communication with each other. And that's continuously happening with Tony, with Cheryl, with Devin. And I'm excited to see where those conversations go to, and also bringing in other artists into the fold that have great influence and that have great power over the young creatives that are establish themselves in current realities, but also have great future potentials.
Yeah.
I would like to think that I have potential,
You
and I think that
do.
there's a lot of people in
I'm
that
gonna say
room
I think you
that have
do.
potential.
I was gonna say I think you fit the bill, girl. I think you're great. When you think of iconic, though, right? What does the word iconic mean in this season of your life, and how do you kind of redefine it in this body of work?
That is a really great question, right? So typically when we think of iconic, we think of devotional, celebrity, contemporary
Yeah.
celebrity culture, sacred relics, modern icons, right? We think of all these things. And I think those things hold a lot of weight, a lot of spiritual weight, desirability holds a lot of weight. And it's good to reminisce on the opulence of old iconic movements and societies. But I think the most iconic thing that anyone can be is just themselves.
That's it.
Like just showing up every day, trying to be the better version of yourself than you were yesterday. That is the most seamless, iconic thing that you can do. And I've seen people do that, and I've seen how they've been able to change the mentality and the mindset and the drive of people around them. Mm-hmm. And so to me, it's as simple as that. It's not about having this elevated altar of reflection or contemporary excellence. Like those things are important.
Yeah.
To some extent, just for the sake of history. But it's not about that. I think it's really just about showing up every day as the best version of yourself and questioning yourself when you're not doing that and interrogating yourself and coming to terms with the fact that like a level of higher consciousness is possible. And we all want to strive for that. And I hope that, by becoming more iconic, we can get there.
Yeah. So if you guys are just joining us, welcome back to Power 97.5 LA. We have the phenomenal artist, iconic, I'm calling her. Bukunmi Grace is in the building. I'm so excited because as we were just talking about Launch LA, which is here in Los Angeles, it is a brand new exhibition that opened on July 11th and it runs through August 1st. A huge shout out to curator David Colbert, and it features artists Tony Concept, Cheryl Fox, Bukunmi Grace, as well as Devin Wesley. A huge shout out to Devin Wesley. When you think of this exhibition, it feels like a love letter. It feels like a prayer and a mirror all at once. Was that intentional?
Oh, 100%. Right. When you think of iconography, it's both a map and a mirror. It's charting like visual codes across times, and it's reflecting the cultural, the spiritual, the political currents that shape them. It's where image becomes language and language becomes devotion. And I think the language that each artist is bringing into the room is very unique. It's very different, but it's very sacred.
Yeah.
And the moments are being crystallized into this cultural significant movement that articulates reverence and articulates remembrance and also resistance. And it etches itself into this collective identity that allows us to move forward in a progressive manner. So it's not just mere presentation. It's embodiment of the sacred and the secular, at times both.
Yeah.
And we're getting all of that within this like small concept, but it's going larger and beyond that. And I feel like it's impacting not just Los Angeles, but it can impact the U.S. as a whole.
Absolutely.
Just thinking about how to become more iconic and showing up for yourself and how to make the art that you want to see and you envision, and seeing artists of different styles from different backgrounds, different educational processes has been very illuminating for me. And I hope it's the same for everyone who gets to come in and see the exhibition.
I want to get into some Q&A. We had people literally run to write us questions when they heard that you were going to be on the show. And the first question is from Tony. Tony is out of Los Angeles. He says, Bukunmi, what was your process for selecting the subjects in this exhibit? What made them iconic now? I feel like you kind of low-key answered that question, but if you want to add anything else to that.
That's a great question. I think, yeah, we touched on it, but specifically, so in the exhibition, there are 3 portraits. One is a mixed media portrait, and then there are 3 mixed media works that do not feature any portraits. This features my work as collage, inspired by the great Faith Ringgold, but then it also has elements of Art Povera, inspired by Michelangelo Pistello. So there's a lot of really different inspiration artistically there. The conceptual weight of the words is inspired by Barbara Kruger's text-based critiques and Robert Rauschenberg's combines. So there's those elements, but then the portraits that I selected, I only like seeing images of people that have motivated me to be the better version of myself, or have motivated society to move beyond and do beyond what they are aware of, and to seek further than they have experienced. And I feel like Alicia Keys, Michael B. Jordan, and Harris all embody that for me, and for a lot of people. And I think everyone I've worked with embodies that, but I chose these specifically because they also felt like a moment in time, a meditative moment in time, a prayer, just a moment of like love and joy. The portrait of Alicia that I photographed and styled was reminiscent of Ophelia, and it was a really big moment for her and the re-release of her Tears for Water poetry book. And so that moment brought me so much joy, being able to be there for her, but also create these large, gorgeous images. That she's able to utilize.
Yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous images. Lisa out of Compton says, Bukunmi, I was at the show, and there's so much depth and reverence in the way that you frame Black skin, posture, and presence. How do you approach capturing the holiness in an image?
Oof.
Girl, the people are writing today. I said, okay.
That is a word in itself. She said the holiness of an image.
Girl.
Well, I think I have to see the holiness in the human first to be able to capture that. And so I like to spend a little bit of time with my subjects before I photograph them. Either we have a meeting, or when I walk in, we make conversation. I make time for that, because in those moments, I'm able to understand what they really need from this exchange. It's a mutual exchange, right? It's a memory that we're placing on each other. It's embracing each other and creating self-preservation. So there needs to be that exchange. But I will go back to your question about the lighting and the coloring specifically of African Americans. One of my mentors, I wouldn't even say he's a mentor. He was like someone I briefly worked for that was guiding me on how to make lights. He was advising me to not work with African Americans specifically because he was saying that they're difficult to light.
Wow.
And that was the last day I ever saw that man.
Exactly.
I was like, all right, I'm leaving. Because by you saying that, it means that you have no idea of my own lived experiences as an African woman in America. You have no idea of the lived experiences of the black population here and what that entails, that you have derived. And he was actually a person of color. I think he was Filipino. You've derived this mentality from your observations of what gets you work or what got you work in the past, not what's actually happening. So I made that a goal of mine as much as possible to have the right dictionary and glossary of lighting equipment and light and people around me that understood that it's very important to especially make people of darker complexions feel seen, heard, and sacred. Because it doesn't even make sense someone would say something like that, because once you're lighting skin color, you see that the more rich and melanated someone's skin color is, the more the light kisses them and loves them and bounces off of them. So I wouldn't even say it's easier or harder to light any skin color necessarily, but there's a lot of joy and be able to derive color from a very melanated, colorful base. right? So
Yep.
I don't even see it as any sort of challenge. I enjoy the opportunity to be able to be part of that discussion of what it entails to give people the holy respect they need to feel revered in any situation, especially when it comes to taking portraits of them.
Last question from Nick from the LBC, Long Beach in the building. Were there any specific biblical, cultural, or ancestral references that helped shape this visual language?
Oh, let me tell you, it's all in there, right?
It is.
It's
it
all
really
in there.
is.
So I have a few pieces that I love specifically. One is a meditation on iconography, and the other one is called "Am I a Believer?" So, and then the third one's called "In the Absence of Words," because it's just a cacophonic assemblage that's emotional, ideological, and it draws inspiration from collage work, from bricolage work. It's just, it weaves together all these found objects, political items, symbolic tokens, right? So, but I want to go back to the first piece I mentioned, the meditation on iconography. That is specifically derived from the divine architecture of creation. The composition itself is divided into three parts: heaven, earth, and sea, as it is in Genesis when God speaks upon the firmaments and the heavens and how he envisions, or they envision, earth to be.
Yep.
And each realm is embedded with symbolic objects, text fragments, and visual cues that reflect humanity's ascent towards self-realization. But if you look at the piece carefully, you'll see that there are also different text-based inspirations and motifs that also atone for the idea of the composition of these like firmaments and the earth and the sea. There's a text that says, "I want a museum to be a safe space to breathe," for instance. It's a call for institutional transformation. And throughout the phrases on earth, you see "stop the bombing" and "loving you," which both act as an emotional and political signpost and captures the poetry of navigating our current identity. So there is a lot of reference when it comes to the spiritual base, but I added on top of that the reference of iconography, icons from the Byzantine era to artists like Faith Ringgold, who did a marvelous job of collaging and with intention and recomposition and transforming materials into sacred narratives. So I hope you see the dualities that exist in the work when you come to see it, or as I share it. There's dualities of the reverence versus the surrey. There's dualities of abundance versus decay. There's dualities of belief versus skepticism.
All of the things.
All of the things.
Yeah.
Right?
So as we get ready to wrap our show, it's interesting with you. You're going to be the first person. Normally we do the therapy session. But I am now going to do the hot seat questions. And it is the first thing that comes to your mind. You cannot spend too long at all even answering the question. It's the first thing. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
And this is reality. First off, over 200 episodes, guys. We always say this on every show. No one ever knows the question. Everyone always is just like, we're just going to trust this man. It is what it is. All right. First question is, Bukunmi, what would the title of your autobiography be?
Okay, no think. The first thing I was going to say is Belonging, but I think that's Michelle Obama's book title. So I'll just say Grace.
When was your first kiss?
19 years old.
What's the worst date you've ever been on?
Someone took me to a date at this lovely restaurant that used to be next to the road. I did let them know that I was lactose intolerant because I'm severely allergic to dairy.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, but there's always great things to try. I'm like, okay, but I'm allergic to dairy. And they went to proceed and ordered for me and didn't listen to any of my suggestions. And baby, God did not want me on that date because the way that I almost died.
You were like, let's wrap this up right now. What is your...
And the conversation was horrible.
Oh,
So
yeah.
because they would not stop talking about work. And so I think it was the mix of the dairy and the bad conversation.
Just a bad combination.
I wouldn't even be gross about, like, nothing happened. I just couldn't breathe properly. Like, I was having like an anaphylactic attack.
Oh, my God. What is your...
So I had to leave.
What is your biggest pet peeve?
Oh, that's a great question. I think people just being unkind for the sake of being unkind. I think it's supremely unnecessary. I think also racism is also completely unnecessary. Both of those are big pet peeves, racism and unkindness in general.
Have you ever ghosted someone?
I hope not. I definitely try to be nice to everyone. I got ghosted one time, and that was really weird and awful. But they came back a few months later, so I don't know if that's like complete ghosting. I definitely get overwhelmed, but I always try to go back and check my messages and respond to people.
Yeah.
I don't think I have a ghosting nature because I would just feel really terrible
Same.
about it.
Yeah, same.
But I'm also trying to be better about dating in general and be more specific about where my intention goes and my attention. So... I don't know. Someone might get ghosted in the future, but
Oh my God. Wait, what's that one movie or television show that always makes you cry?
Oh, wow. I don't really watch TV much. I don't have time, but...
I was going to say me either. Yeah.
I don't really... I don't... my dad loves this, like, Mrs. Doubtfire. Like, that was the only movie I was allowed to watch.
Shout out to Mrs. Doubtfire.
Growing up, I know. It's so crazy. That was like the only movie he allowed us to.
I had to think about whenever I put this question together. I was like, what's one movie that's made me cry? I always think of The Best Man, the second installment.
Oh.
And when this is not a spoiler alert, everyone. It's been out for years. I was like, if y'all haven't seen the second installment, literally Malcolm's about to drop the next one. But
I haven't seen it.
Oh God, never mind. Jesus. Well, something very dramatic happens at the end of the movie, and it literally makes everybody cry because it's like the main character and all of the things. Okay, if you could only listen, I can't believe she hasn't seen this. If you could only listen to one song for a year, what would it be?
I already know what that is.
Oh, gosh.
It's called In the Kingdom by Maz's Star. And it's the title, what she speaks about. But I have this, I don't know if it's neurotic trait. I will find a song, and if I'm really feeling it in that moment, I will listen to it probably 100 times. And then I'll get sick of it. I'll move on to the next song. But that's where I'm at right now. And I think I could rock with that one for a year, honestly.
Shout out to that. Okay. You did good. You did good. As we wrap our show, I want to thank you for just all of the footprints that you have continuously created for yourself, for the younger generations, for the ancestors that constantly just say thank you. My last few questions really highlight your art and your spiritual alignment. How do you remain spiritually anchored while creating in the public eye?
Really great question. I'm still figuring that out, babe. I started the year telling my friend that we were going to be exchanging Bible verses. Let me tell you, it's July. I don't know if I've seen a Bible verse in a minute.
We're like half the year is already gone.
I reading the Quran. I did start the year reading the Quran. I fell in love with the Quran. I think it has a lot of beautiful, or Quran, sorry, it has a lot of beautiful words. I've also, dabbled in like Buddhism, and I think all the religions have something to teach us. So I'm always trying to find religious texts, no matter what the vehicle is, or the theme is. I always try to find inspiration in that. But I also journal quite often, and I also get these newsletters sent to me that have different quotes from different writers and novelists, and that always reminds me to stay on the path. Mm-hmm. And then what really helps me outside of prayer meditation as well, I get notifications, affirmation notifications constantly from this app called I Am. And it's been honestly so helpful. Like, I'll have a stressful day and I'll look down and it's all these
You're like, thank you.
like,
right timing.
you know, like, you are moving in the universe is green. You are, you know, like, really cheesy, but like, it works. I think anything that works, do it. Lately I found like being in the water is very soothing and relaxing. I think there's spirituality in everything. Like, it depends on, that's good for you.
Same,
not everything.
same.
The things that are good for you, the things that feel good, that don't injure the body. I think there's things to be found in all these aspects. And so I'm always leaning into them. And I feel like there's probably more for me to learn. But those are some of the foundational things I try to practice, like reading scripture of different kinds, meditating, praying, journaling, and avoiding energy vampires.
My last question is, you have had a great career. You have done features with many different magazines that have spanned over 100 features and publications. You've had numerous commercials, editorial work. You've spoken at some beautiful places, panels, and you've left a lot of nuggets for people to leave with how I can do better, how I can look at her life and how I can do things in a different perspective. You're an amazing multidisciplinary artist, creative director, art producer. Your work continues to live at the intersection of so many people's stories. What do you want your legacy to be?
Wow. You think I would have thought about that more often, but I really don't. I'm just happy to see each new day. But right now I'm really focused on how I can drive the tenets of sustainability, sensuality, and spirituality into creating a system that transcends commodification. I've always been enamored by the idea of reaching nirvana since I found out about it when I was a child, and like reaching this level of consciousness that only, you know, a certain amount, a small population on Earth even thinks about getting to. And one day I was like, you could probably get to that point, but you just have to focus very intensely. And that point for me is like a state of like peace, complete total peace, complete awareness, a total giving state. I'm definitely not there yet, but I think that's the legacy I would like to leave behind, is that I was able to take these tenets and really meditate on them and really practice and make works around them and live a life that inspires people to see things in a different way. When it comes to how they can be more sustainable with the earth, when it comes to enjoying their own sensuality and sexuality, and also when it comes to evolving spiritually in various ways. Like, there's not one form, there is not one structure. I hope that I leave people with the desire to question everything and question themselves, and come from those questions, create answers that like amplify the world, amplify the future generations.
I want to say thank you, because you continue to be a force. I want everyone to make sure that they support, slide in her DMs, go to the show Iconic Now. It is running through August. Her Instagram is BUKUNMIGRACE. That's Bukunmi Grace. And any last words? You got 1 minute. Any last words you want to leave with any of your fans, followers, all of the things?
Just thank you. Thank you for this moment. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the beautiful questions. This was not rehearsed, ladies and gentlemen. He hit me hot.
Hot. Listen, we come in hot, girl. I love it.
There was no preparation for this. No lube. Just kidding.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Authenticity at its finest. She never needs it because she's always on point. No, so I appreciate you so much. As we always say, thank you guys for listening to Power 97.5 LA, the heart of music, and the Jameer Smith Show. Stay positive, but stay creative. Until next time, thank you for tuning in.